Hello and welcome to Good Deeds, your Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. I'm Mark Crosby of Quincy Access Television. Thank you for joining us. Good Deeds is a program that really examines, well, in this episode, statistics and real estate activity. And to share all that information, I'm going to turn now to my guest. He is the Register of Deeds for the county. That would be Bill O'Donnell. Bill, welcome back.
Mark, thanks for having me. And again, happy summer to you and to the staff here at Quincy Access Television for doing a great job with these programs, and to our viewers. And with the summer, I'm here to bring statistics. We have statistics. It's some people might find them interesting, but it just shows trends of where we are economically. So we have statistics for the second quarter, April, May, and June, and also statistics for the whole fiscal year, which goes from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023.
So there are no big surprises.
No, I think when we've been here, and I think people can feel it economically, there's just downward trends. In the second quarter, there were downward trends reflected not only in total documents at the registry, for that second quarter, the total documents were down 23%. And this was reflected across the line. What makes up total documents? Deeds. Well, the total deeds were down 16%. Again, I think it reflects a couple of things. There's a limited inventory. We need to increase supply. We need to have new housing starts built. And those are really macroeconomic issues, but they have an effect at what happens at the Registry of Deeds. And the big thing clearly is the interest rates. These high interest rates relative to where they were, I think make it difficult for home buyers in general, but in particular first-time home buyers who now have to deal with the extra costs of higher interest rates. And we see that again in the second quarter for mortgages. The total mortgages in 2022, again for April, May, and June, was 6,809 mortgages. And in 2023, that second quarter, 4,084. That's a 40% drop. So that is been reflected in the second quarter, and I think it's been reflective of the whole fiscal year, which we'll get into. But I think people still see that even though people are hearing real estate prices are dropping. I know the Massachusetts Association of Realtors put out some statistics for May. They said from May 22 to May 23, for single-family homes, prices dropped 22.3%. And for condos, month to month, 22.7%. And those are great for statistics, but I think sometimes in Norfolk County, it doesn't always follow that trend because we have desirable communities here. People want to live in Norfolk County in the greater Boston area. And so even though the Warren Group, for instance, said in May, the average single-family home cost $589,000. I think anecdotally, when I talk to brokers and see some statistics, certainly it's a lot higher in Norfolk County. And as far as other, I could get into the notices to foreclose. I really should. They're up. And there's two things. The last step in the foreclosure process, that's what we see at the Registry of Deeds. It's foreclosure deeds. The first step are notices to foreclose, which by law have to get recorded at the registry. And they might not sound like a lot quarterly. Total foreclosure deeds went from 16 to 26, but that's still an increase. Notices to foreclose, which is the beginning of the process, went from 66 to 86. But when you look at the whole fiscal year, July 1st to June 30th, 2022 versus 2023, there was 66 foreclosure deeds up to 74, but the notices to foreclose went from 199 to 375.
That sounds like a big jump.
It's an 88% jump. it's a tremendous jump. So clearly some of our neighbors are struggling, and I always want to point out they can go to our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org. We have partnered up with nonprofit groups. There's Neighbor Works Housing Solutions and Quincy Community Action Programs. These people give guidance through this legal process. They also give counseling services to look at the debt issues and the problems people are struggling with. And we all have problems. It could be you lost a job, it could be a health issue, but you really should reach out to these nonprofit groups. And we also have a link to the Attorney General's office, which also provides some services for people that face foreclosure. To show you how the trends have gone all year and just reflected what we talked about, from July 1st to June 30th, the total documents recorded, yes, in 2022, it was 162,148, which was a little busier. It was 110,070 in 2023. That's down 32%. And again, what goes into that? A lot of documents get recorded, but principally deeds. Those are transactions, home sales, condo sales, business sales, and total deeds went from 19,949 total deeds to 15,903, or a 20% decrease. And total mortgages, again, we're talking about the interest rate, and they went from 33,861 to 17,066, a nearly 50% decrease. So I think the trends, whether it was the fiscal year or in that snapshot of the last quarter of the fiscal year, second quarter of the calendar year, which is April, May, and June, it shows there's, there are economic things going on. There's limited supply and the interest rates going up.
And people might say, I suppose throughout the county, certainly where we are recording this in Quincy, there seems to be an awful lot of construction, housing construction, but clearly still not enough.
I think that's the takeaway, that in Quincy is reflecting. Some communities have a vibrant building going on. And new housing starts, as I said, would go a long way to addressing the demand, but it's still, there's a great demand out there. And I think that's why you're seeing that even though interest rates have gone up, there's still anecdotal in talking to brokers and potential buyers, there's still, multi-offers on certain properties that are priced right. Some of those offers are exceeding the asking price, and there's a bid war. And so, people will say, wait a minute, it's a bad economic time. Why is this happening? And I think it goes back to what you said. Even though in a community, a vibrant community like Quincy, and there's many vibrant communities in Norfolk County, there are housing being built, but it's just not enough to keep up with the demand.
And I haven't heard this recently, but maybe the last episode that you and I had done, the first update of the year, they might have been talking about recession. I haven't heard that recently.
No, I know they've talked about, there were some questions on inflation, that inflation, although at some point it was exceeding 9%, and now they're saying it's moving in the direction of 4%. Again, I'm not sure we're out of the woods. I'll leave that to the economists.
But hence the adjustment to the interest rate.
Yes, and that's still a factor. They've kind of taken a pause, but I guess it really depends on the macroeconomic factors. But I always say, and I think we said it on a number of episodes, things that happen globally or things that happen nationally do have an effect on the real estate market in the local communities, whether it's the interest rates going up, it's going to affect demand. And it's certainly, never mind the demand, I think the people see it, especially first-time home buyers, young people that are trying to get into the market. It has added an extra layer of cost that makes it real tough. And that's where we are right now.
And we should mention that the numbers that you just gave out, they include both residential and commercial.
Yes, they include, those documents include everything. I know average sale price and I point that out for the whole fiscal year. The average sale price, we do residential and commercial, so it kind of skews it. So you'll see the average price was a little over $1 million, which is down almost $200,000 from 2022. So again, that reflects a 16% decrease, but I think you still see in a housing context, home sales, condo sales, that the people are seeing, prices going above asking. So we keep track of it, but it is kind of skewed because you have, the commercial and the residential put together.
I don't know how many folks, when they purchase a house, let's say, go for the variable interest rate as opposed to a fixed interest rate. That could certainly contribute to more foreclosures than normal.
Yes, I think, and you got to remember, we didn't even track foreclosures at the registry, and we made adjustments with our IT department to do that, and we did it because back in 2007, suddenly there were foreclosures, and I said we should track that, and that's when we developed the partnership with NeighborWorks Housing Solutions and Quincy Community Action Program, where, to get, the people some help. So I think compared to that period, I think they didn't really check out people. They were just lending money and not doing these stringent checks of people's, economic situation. So I think, and there was some federal government regulations put in that required a more stringent review of borrowers. So even though these numbers are high, they're probably not as high as they were in 07, 08, 09, where, now I think because of the regulations, people were better monitored and prepared for their loans. But you're right, if the interest rates, if you're thinking that interest rate, that variable is going to stay low and you can make that payment and suddenly the interest rates go up, and by your contract it has to go up, that's great. But to young home buyers, though, to young future home buyers, try to get into the market. I was listening to a show where one of the real estate brokers said, marry the house but date the rate. In other words, the rates are high, but maybe you can refinance, maybe they come down the line. But, you would expect a broker to say that, but I think it's probably pretty good advice.
Talk about, I guess, other aspects of the registry. I know that often you will put out notification to folks about deed scams. Talk about that, and also talk about the consumer notification system that the Norfolk County Registry has in place.
Yes, we were one of the first registries that we call it an anti-fraud consumer notification service, and there are scams out there, and we always tell people, we put it on our website. I know the Secretary of State did and Attorney General's office did a consumer notification. There are all kinds of people that are trying to pay extra, $60, $86 for a copy of your deed or a certified copy of your deed, and just come directly to the Registry of Deeds if you need a copy of a document, and you're not going to be paying, $60 to $86. The Consumer Notification Service, the FBI, says that the fastest growing white collar crime is, property and mortgage fraud, deed fraud, and again, we don't say this to scare people. We don't see it as prevalent here in Norfolk County, but it is in other areas. And the Consumer Notification Service, you can sign up, for Norfolk County and get a free notification. I get a notification. If some William O'Donnell, the document gets recorded, I get notified and I check it. Well, good news, it's not my house, it's not my a loan on my house, but there could be a time where that document looks like my house, or wait, how did that mortgage get recorded on my property? I didn't sign it. It's not going to prevent the fraud, but it can get, people on it. And think about it, no one would have thought you needed that. When I became registered, you know, although I did work in the district attorney's office, and you see what people can, you know, the scams and things people do to each other, that was something new. And I think the Consumer Notification Service for Norfolk County residents, it's a free service. I know there's other private groups that are now charging, but I think it's just a good way to protect the biggest asset you have is your home. We have other consumer issues. You know, if you go to our website, you know, make sure when you pay off your mortgages that the mortgage discharges get recorded, and you know, we try to do things like that.
I do want to go back and talk a little bit about something that we do address in other episodes, and that's the Homestead Act, because it is a protection for your residents.
Yes, the homestead is written into the state law by your state representatives, your state senators. Chapter 188 gives anybody in Massachusetts who owns property, and if you're 18 years old and you're lucky enough to own property, you have a right to put a homestead on your home or condo. And what a homestead is, it's a declaration that in certain cases prevents a forced sale of your home. I equate it to sort of a picket fence around your property, and I'm an attorney by training. I know I always kind of joke, 10 different attorneys, 10 different opinions. I've heard that before.
But they all agree on this.
I would say 9.9 attorneys out of 10 would say record a homestead. The good news is your state reps and senators in a statute give people an automatic protection. It's $125,000, and there was never an automatic protection. You had to go to the registry and put this 1 page or so document and declare a homestead. So if you don't do that, you at least have $125,000 worth of protection. It gets a portion depending on who owns the property. But if you take advantage of the other part of the statute where you put a written declaration at the registry, it gives you up to $500,000 worth of protection. It also allows for, you know, if you have proceeds from the sale of the house, it's protected, again, for a limited period of time, 2 years. If you got a 1 year on that one. 2 years, if your house burnt down, they gave you a check. Creditors can't swoop in and come after that check. You know, again, you know, with these homestead protections that are, and so, and there's an elderly homestead as well. So there's, it's written in the statute for a reason. We try to be pro-consumer and make people aware of consumer issues. We have things on our website like where has my bank gone when you're trying to chase down getting a mortgage discharge. But there's also information on our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org about the homestead in detail. But it's something good. As a consumer, if you don't have it, you really should consider taking steps to, again, protect the biggest asset most of us have, which is our home.
And you did mention mortgage discharges, and you don't want, or as a homeowner, you don't want to be surprised to find out that your mortgage from years ago that you thought was discharged wasn't.
Yes, and again, when we see consumers, they're like, wait a minute, this should have been taken care of, maybe by the closing attorney or maybe the bank. And they're right. But these people are faced with a situation where they're trying to sell the house, or when the interest rates were low, they're trying to refinance, and because they have kids in college and they're trying to refinance. And suddenly the closing attorney that's doing that transaction is saying, hey, you need to get a mortgage discharge, which tells the world that that mortgage is paid off. So I always tell people they can go on to our website. We have an internet land record website at the registry. You can access the documentation from the registry, or you call our customer service center at 1-781-461-6116, and they can run and look at your mortgages and start running through them to see if they've been discharged. And you should always make sure they're discharged, you know, because you have paid them off. Lucky you. And make sure that the document that tells the world that they've been paid off gets recorded at the registry.
And thank you, Bill, as always, for joining us here today. And we will see you again in studio to talk more the next quarter.